We do know what he did when he thought no one was looking. He didn't do anything. He didn't hurt Lazarus. He didn't help him either. He just didn't do anything for him. And that's the sin that Jesus is talking about here. He's not about anything else in this parable except to remind us that when confronted with an injustice or a need, the greatest sin is not to do no harm, it is to do nothing at all. Sometimes needs, causes, missions get placed in our lap. They call us to think about more than ourselves, the building we have or the building that we are trying to rebuild, and they call us to action. Maybe God will, like this church, dump a school in our laps and tell a few of us that it might be a really good place to do ministry to someone other than ourselves. Now, we can embrace that mission, or we can think that somehow, some way, we are being fleeced. That any church that grew over the past 3 years, that had a school, and it grew from 28 students to 45 students, is not something that we can be proud to be a part of, but something we are suspicious of because it still can't afford their own pastor, preferring to use their money instead to educate children. So they must be ripping us off. We don't know why or how. We just know that there must be some kind of funny business going on. And why should we help anyway? We've got our own problems, don't you know? Like Lazarus, their problems are their problems, and if we help them, ours just might get worse. That's the rich man's dilemma too. What if he let the poor guy at the garden gate into his house, and when nobody was looking, he ripped him off, steals all his silver, sells what doesn't belong to him, turns the place into a shambles? What if the poor guy isn't poor at all? What if he's socking it away someplace? What if this is all a scam? And here is what Jesus is saying in plain and simple language. So what? Help the guy anyway. For in doing so, you may be blessed, but in not doing so, when you are not looking, your inaction may turn into a curse. Anyone who reads the Gospels half awake, or at least takes them half seriously, has to realize the risk we run when we do nothing when nobody is looking. That's exactly what happens in Jesus' little parable. The rich man's inaction turns into a curse. But even while the flames of hell are lapping at his fine Egyptian underwear, and all that he has seems to be lost, he fails to see any need for a change of heart. His wherewithal is gone, but its stubborn residue remains. An aura of privilege still clings to the rich man, even in the hellish life that he has brought upon himself. Send Lazarus to help me, he says, now that no less than Father Abraham is looking at him in his torment. The rich man still believes that he can command and expect a response. That Father Abraham should listen to him, see him, have mercy on him. The rich man honestly believes that Father Abraham should send Lazarus, whom the rich man ignored when nobody was looking in this life, to serve him in the next. Drop a cool water on my tongue is all I ask. And while you're at it, an additional favor, a word to my brothers, so that they don't suffer the same fate I did. But Abraham smashes this illusion. His reply is terrible, and it is true. Some outcomes cannot be influenced. Some chasms cannot be crossed. Some things harden. And what was done when nobody was looking were seen by God. And eventually, there is a point of no return. The rich man in his life reached that point and even past it, and now must suffer the consequences for what he did or what he did not do when nobody was looking. Is there any good news in this story? And the answer is no. Not if you want to keep everything you have and not share your time and treasures with others. Do that, Jesus says, and you will most assuredly end up losing it all in a hell of your own making. So then, what can we do? Well, perhaps we can make this story our own. Carry it around in our heads and in our hearts. Let it scare us to death. We can heed the words of the prophet Amos. Hear this, you who trample on the needy and bring to ruin the poor of the land. The Lord has sworn by the pride of Jacob, surely I will never forget any of their deeds. We can do nothing. Or we can listen to the words of this parable and then live our lives like everybody is looking, resolved to do better. There may still yet be time. Not much maybe, but still some time. We have the prophets. We have Jesus. We may be even able to start now if we only but listen to him and then live as if somebody was looking, and that somebody was God. Amen.